orchestra teacher at Garner and Grant in North Liberty. Also, just so you all know, this meeting is going to be recorded for anyone who can't be here, but it should just be recorded with us, hopefully, and we'll be screen sharing here in just a moment. Mr. Awad.
And I am Mr. Awad. I'm very happy to see you all. I see a few smiling faces out there, which I really like. Puts me in a good mood. I teach orchestra at Penn Elementary, Van Allen Elementary, and at North Central Junior High here in North Liberty. And I'm very glad to have you here tonight.
All right, so as we're going through here, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat, and we'll get to them as soon as we can, and for sure at the end. All right. So to begin, orchestra may look a little bit different this year than it usually does. Pretty much if your student is in person on their lesson day, they will have an in-person lesson. And if they are online during their lesson day, they will have an online lesson. So we'll just kind of be going with what the student, where the student's at. We'll have a lot of video content. We'll be doing kind of karate belts on Seesaw. We'll be doing quite a bit of recording so that we can kind of see how students are doing, especially for those who are online. But we'll make sure that students know exactly what to do and they're comfortable with doing it. It helps that everybody is new to it. So we'll all kind of be on the same page with it. But like I said, it'll be a lot of online stuff through Zoom. And then if you're in person. We will not be having after school events, at least for the fall. We don't know what will happen in the spring yet, so we'll keep you posted on what the spring will look like. Mr. Awad.
Okay, so you've already met two of the North Liberty orchestra teachers, Mrs. Yang and myself. We also have a very cool teacher of orchestra at the high school, Ms. Annie Savage, who in addition to having a very fun name, runs a really neat program at Liberty High. In addition to playing classical music and kind of fun, funky, upbeat music like you heard on the way in, she was a touring violin player, and her kids do a lot of folk music and fiddle music and alternative styles music, and she's into teaching kids how to improvise, which means making up music on the spot with other people, which is something that I like to do a bit, and I think Ms. Yang likes to do a bit of that too. And you'll get to hear a greeting from her in a little bit and get to hear one of her groups play right here.
Okay, here she is.
Hey, welcome to the world of orchestra, everyone. My name is Annie Savage, and I'm the director at Liberty High School. And I have to tell you, the day that I decided to play the violin changed my life forever. I hope everyone is excited, and I very much look forward to working with you. I do a lot of stuff with improv and jamming and playing like you're in a band, in addition to what we do in orchestra, and I'm very excited to get you on board and happy and playing. Thank you to Mr. Awad and Mrs. Yang for having me in, and I hope you guys have a wonderful year. I will see you down the road.
And then here's a little bit from one of her groups.
spread to win and tolls to pay on life's highway.
I'll pause it right there. So that's just a little bit of her group called the Savage Hearts.
Ms. Yang,
Yes.
I did not know it until just a few seconds ago. I didn't think that Miss Savage was going to be able to drop by, but we've been graced with celebrity. She has popped in here for a bit. So let me see if I can pin your video to the screen. And
I'll stop sharing for a moment.
okie dokie.
If we ask to unmute, you should be able to unmute and we can spotlight you.
Ah, that's what I needed to do. Spotlight.
Hey guys, what an exciting day this is. Thank you so much for allowing me to come in and welcome you. And I have to say that you are so lucky because you're about to work with two of the greatest teachers in all of orchestra, in all of Iowa City, which is one of the best places to be an orchestra in the whole country. My name is Annie Savage, and I just want to say welcome. And I want you to know that we play a lot of different kinds of music at Liberty, not just bluegrass, which you heard a little bit of. That's something that I do, but we also do a lot with jazz and world music and classical music, of course. We even do a little bit of mariachi for those of you guys that know mariachi. So welcome to orchestra. Thank you for having me in, Mr. Awad and Miss Yang, and I will enjoy getting to know everybody. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Savage. Thanks for dropping by. And I have to confess, after Miss Savage's kind words, you guys might not be able to tell on screen. I'm blushing just a little bit, but okay.
Go back here. Hopefully it doesn't start at the beginning. Oh, perfect. So we have 4 instruments in the orchestra. They are from left to right, the violin, the next one's the viola, the next one is the cello, and the next one is the bass. And yesterday there was another parent meeting for the east side of town, and I loved how Mr. Jacobs put it. We have the little violin, we have the slightly bigger violin, we have the really big violin, and we have the giant sized violin. So we had the 4 instruments. They all sound a little bit different, and you are going to get to hear a little bit about each one in just a moment. Is there anything else that you would like to say about the instruments, Mr. Awad?
You know, I think that when you're choosing an instrument to play, it's important to just pay attention to which one speaks to you, which one gives you kind of that feeling like, ooh, you know, I want to go toward that. Also pay attention to the positions that they're held in. Think about that. Think about how big or small they are, and if that's something you like. And in addition to these videos, you know, if you say are interested in the viola and the bass, you're not sure which one you want to play, spend some time on YouTube. You've got my permission, you know, and just find some cool videos of different people playing and then see what speaks to you.
These will also just be short clips, but the full clips of each of these demo videos that we're going to watch in a second can be found on our website. And Mr. Awad, could you possibly put the website and registration links in the chat? We can also get to that in a minute. Okay, perfect.
Sure.
So we're going to start with the violin.
The highest instrument in the orchestra is the violin. You put the violin on your shoulder to play, and you use a bow or your fingers to play it. Here's one of the first pieces that you will learn how to play, and I am using my finger to pluck the string. This is called pizzicato. The bow has horsehair and it makes a different sound than plucking. Here is one of my favorite pieces that you will learn during your first year of orchestra. Violin Cabbage Down. So, if you like the higher pitched sounds and you want an instrument that sits on your shoulder, then the violin is the one for you. See ya in orchestra!
And my full video of the violin has a little bit more with fiddle tunes in it. So if you would like to see that, you are welcome to. Next instrument will be the viola.
This is the viola. Just like the violin, the viola is played on your shoulder. However, there are some important differences. The most obvious difference is probably in size. As you can see, the viola is a little bigger than the violin. However, if you're a smaller person, don't let this worry you, as the viola can come size to you. You won't be playing on one that is this big. And that's true of all string instruments. Since the viola is a little bit bigger, you can probably guess that it's going to sound a little bit lower. Here's what it sounds like. Violins tend to play the melody part, or the part that you might sing along to with a song, while violas play the harmony part, which adds a certain richness and depth to our music. Just like all string instruments, the strings can be plucked, or we can play it with the bow. Next, I'll play a song that you'll get to play this year in 5th grade if you join orchestra. Students usually recognize this song really quickly, sometimes even in the first 2 notes. See if you can recognize it. Even if you didn't know the name, I bet that you could have probably sang the second half. Next, I'll play a song that you might like to listen to on the radio sometimes. And last, I'll play one more song to show you the full range of the viola. If you like the mid-range sound and adding the richness and depth to music, then the viola is right for you.
All right, we get the privilege of getting to listen to Mr. Awad himself demonstrate the cello and the bass. So see if you recognize some of these pieces that he plays.
Hey everybody, I'm Mr. Awad and this is the cello. The cello is the second largest instrument in the string family, quite a bit bigger than the violin and viola, and it's the second deepest voiced instrument in the string family too. Only the bass is bigger and only the bass goes deeper. The cello though goes quite deep. Cello also goes quite high, so it has a really big range. As with the other string instruments, the cello can be played plucked,
with a bow. The bass can be Darth Vader. The cello is more like Han Solo or Chewbacca. It's got an important part in the middle of the orchestra, but it also gets the melody a fair amount.
And last but not least, the double bass.
Hey everybody, it's Mr. Awad again, and this is the bass. Now the bass is the largest and the deepest sounding member of the string family. Like the cello, it's got a spiky thing on the end, which we call an end pin. Unlike the cello, we play it standing up. Now, this is the bottom note on a cello. Quite low, quite deep. The bass keeps going down. All the way to there. But it can also go quite high. The bass, like everything else, can be played pizzicato or with the bow.
Mr. Awad, would you talk about registration?
Certainly. So, I've got a few private questions in the chat about registration actually. And if you look at the links that were shared earlier in the chat, I sent you one for the orchestra website. That's got more information about the program. And if you're curious about the instruments, it's got longer versions of the demos you just heard. And the other link that I sent you is one for registration. So if you click on that and you're there with your parents and make sure that they approve of what you're clicking, you can go ahead and get registered right now or right after this meeting. You can also register on Thursday or Friday. We would really like for you to get your registrations in by then, but if something happens and you can't get it in then, we're not going to not let you be in orchestra. We want everyone to be able to play an orchestra, but the sooner you can get your registrations in, the sooner we can talk to your teachers about when we're going to see you for lessons and things like that. In your seesaw classes too, you should all have gotten links to the website and the registration form. And if you can't find the link to the registration form, as long as you can get to the website, then right at the top there, it'll show you how to get to the registration form. In fact, when Mrs. Yang asked me to post the links in the chat, that's what I did. I ran to the website and found the link for the registration form and posted it in there. Let's see, you can register online, which is, I think, pretty cool this year. And we will be posting more information in your seesaw classes too.
In your seesaw class, there is also an activity that can help you to select an instrument. So if they have the demos in there, but they just have some cool little things where you can like select yes or no if you like it, or move the names of different instruments around. So that also might be helpful in helping you choose an instrument. Okay, before I get started on that, we have 3 local vendors. We are extremely blessed in this area, and all 3 of them have slightly different programs for renting an instrument. So to get an instrument, there's a couple of different options. The first one would be to go through one of the vendors that you're going to watch videos from next. And you can rent or you can buy. You'll see on there a little bit more. Or if you qualify to use a school instrument, more information on that is found on the website and in the registration form. So you can look there to see if that would be an option for you as well. If an instrument is hard for you to get, talk to Mr. Alwater or myself, and we will do our best to help you with acquiring an instrument. But you're going to see first Rec Violin. They are located in Coralville, and the address and phone number will be in this video. So here's a little promo for Rec Violin Shop.
Rec Violin Shop was established in 1987 by Jim and Barb Rec. At Rec Violin, you can either buy your instrument immediately or participate in the rent-to-own program, where you pay for your instrument over time in monthly installments. When the time comes to trade up to a larger instrument, they use the purchase price as a credit to trade in the value toward the next size. The value of trade is dependent on the condition of the instrument. They also offer a variety of intermediate and advanced level instruments and bows. Feel free to stop in to Rec Violin Shop or call them if you have any questions or need more information. Their address is 1801 2nd Street, Suite 130 in Coralville, Iowa. Their phone number is 319-351-8374. You can also look at their website at www.recviolin.com. Their hours are Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 5, and Saturday from 10 to 1.
Here's our next shop, Schultz in Marion.
Hello, my name is John Schultz with Schultz Strings. We're a Midwest-based string instrument company serving families with instrument sales, repairs, rentals, and lessons. Today we're going to talk specifically a little bit about our educational services, bringing rentals of high quality to families just like yours. So what you need to know first and foremost about our rental program is that all of our contracts are month to month. And so as your child learns if they want to play a musical instrument or not, you can return that instrument at any given month and you can discontinue your contract. The other important thing to know is that we do all of our payments very conveniently with automatic recurring billing. And so at the beginning of the contract, you provide either a bank account number or your credit card number, and we just bill that monthly until you decide to terminate your contract with us. The third and most important thing to know for most families is that all of our school district services are on site in your community. And what that means is that you never have to step foot in our physical store to get great service from Schultz Strings. We have representatives which will travel to your school and your community on a regular basis to deliver new instruments, to exchange or replace broken or instruments needing sized up, or when you decide that you want to either return your instrument at the end of a contract, or if you wish to use your credit to purchase an instrument. So no matter where you live, whether it's very close to our physical location or far away, you never have to step foot out your door to get great service from Schultz Strings. To get signed up, simply go to our website, www.schultzstrings.com, and you'll find the rental information along with the sizing chart and other information about our program, or call our office at 319-895-8484, or email us at info@schultzstrings.com. Your teacher will likely also have a brochure for our program, and they may have a letter with supplemental information for you. Thank you so much, and look forward to working with you at Schultz Strings.
And our last local vendor is West Music, which is also in Coralville.
Hi, I'm Ryan West, president and third generation of the West family, and I want to welcome you to the West Music Instrument Rental Program. Congratulations on participating in school music. Making music a part of your life can have a lasting impact, and we hope that by providing you with an instrument now, we can help you play now and play for life. We provide instruments with two options: the outright purchase of your instrument with a guaranteed buyback, or our monthly rent-to-own program. The rent-to-own program provides you with a band or orchestra instrument with a low monthly payment that applies toward owning your instrument and no long-term commitment. You pick your instruments, and we'll get you set up with our starter bundle. The starter bundle is $39.95 and includes everything your student will need to begin successfully: the appropriate method book, a care kit, a music stand in the color of your choice, and it includes your first month's rent. Once you begin your rental, our program is structured so that after 36 monthly payments, you'll be the proud owner of your instrument. However, You may purchase your instrument at any time. West Music offers a 30% discount on the remaining balance when you're ready to pay the balance on your account. Your monthly payments are part of our convenient Easy Pay plan, where payments are deducted automatically from a checking account, debit card, or credit card. You'll never have to worry about remembering to send in a monthly payment. When you rent from West Music, we strive to make it convenient, affordable, and enjoyable. West Music Associates are music performers and music educators at all levels. We're proud to serve as examples in our communities to showcase how you can play now and play for life. Thank you for choosing West Music to be your partner in your child's musical journey.
So again, that's West Music and Rec Violin Shops in Coralville and in Schultz Strings out of Marion. So at this point, we're going to see if we can answer a few more questions. So if you have any questions that haven't been covered yet, go ahead and throw those in the chat. And Mr. Awad, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, we did have a few questions come to me in the private chat. One, I think we kind of answered a bit about good places to rent or buy an instrument, but I'm gonna chime in with a few thoughts on that, and Mrs. Yang, you can say what you think. So any of the 3 shops that you just saw featured would be good places to rent or buy an instrument. A few things about buying an instrument. Some people do choose to buy just so they don't have to, you know, pay an ongoing rental, but it's important with string instruments to keep in mind that they come in different sizes, and even though they're much cooler than shoes, they're kind of like shoes in that you start with a smaller size, then you grow into a bigger one, and then eventually you hit the size that you're going to stay at. 12.5 for me, if anyone's curious. So I would be careful if and parents, this is for you, if your son or daughter, say, is on a half size or a 3/4 size violin or viola or cello, I would be careful about buying one unless you've got the opportunity to trade it in for a bigger size when they grow. It's important not to get an instrument that's too big, because your kids will be straining their hands to hit the notes, which is kind of frustrating and not very comfortable and can lead to bad habits. So you want to start with the correct size instrument and then size up as they go. A lot of the shops will let you, if you're renting, it's not an issue to size up. And a lot of the shops have a trade-in policy. A couple of the videos touched on that a bit, where if you say you do buy a half or a 3/4 size instrument, you can trade it in for all or most of the purchase price for the next size up. Another thing that I would be careful of is when you get an instrument, it doesn't need to necessarily be very fancy to be good, but there are a lot of kind of too good to be true deals on Amazon or eBay, where you can get a violin and a bow and rosin and a shoulder rest and a shiny case for $89.99. And a lot of those things, I'm not trying to be snooty, are more violin-shaped objects than they are violins. Like, I have my violin nearby. So this is actually not a very fancy violin. In fact, it's the violin that my sister played when she was your age in school. And since I'm more of a bass player and a cello player, she was kind enough to give me this violin when I started playing. So if you look really closely, you can see it's got some scratches. It's been loved and played. But the bridge is nice and straight. The strings are nice and low. So it's easy for me to pluck, and the pegs stay in place. On some of those very, very inexpensive violins, or that you can find online. The bridges will be high and the strings are really hard to push down. The rosin won't be very good, so your bow won't grab the string and make a sound, and the pegs will keep slipping, which is a big pain, and it makes your instrument out of tune and no fun to play. So I think it's a good idea to get an instrument somewhere where you can actually see it and where you have people who care that you're getting a good instrument. And if you have a problem with it, you can take it there and they'll fix it or adjust it or help you tune it, or whatever you need. Okay, so those are my thoughts on getting an instrument.
I think the only thing I'd add is that every instrument you can find a VSO, a violin-shaped object, but more frequently there are violins that are the ones that are VSOs. It's a little harder to find a cello or a bass that doesn't work as well. But that said, you're probably not going to find any better deal online or someplace else. Highly recommend going to our local vendors for that.
So we have another question. My child is very small but wants to try the cello too. So there are cellos. In fact, one of the most famous cello players in the whole world, Yo-Yo Ma, if you haven't heard of him, he's a really neat guy, and just like Miss Savage, he plays all different kinds of styles of music. And he's been on Sesame Street twice. He played on he played on a viola, strung like a cello when he started. And he was small enough that instead of a chair, he sat on a stack of phone books. The cellos do come in different sizes. We have them, I think, down to quarter size here in the district. But they do make 8th size and even 16th size cellos. So I saw my first 16th size cello actually at the Rec Violin Shop last summer, and it was so cool and it was so cute. I had to play it for a bit, and I took a video of myself playing it. It wasn't much bigger than that viola that I just showed you, but however small you are, odds are there's a cello that's smaller. The bass also comes in different sizes, although the bass is a big instrument, so the smallest basses are still about as big as a grown-up size cello. So if you play the bass, which I love, I think the bass is wonderful. I think it's got a deep, chocolatey sound. Just be aware that as wonderful as it is, you're going to have to carry it around. So let's see some other questions. Okay, is there a date by which we need to have an instrument to start lessons? Mrs. Yang, do you want to chime in on that, or?
Well, we were just talking about this earlier with all of the teachers in the district. Originally, we were planning to start next Friday, October 2nd, with lessons, and then the following week. It sounds like we will be not starting that day, but instead starting the following Monday. So that would be the 5th. So if you're able to have it by the 5th, that's great. If you don't, that's totally okay. We have stuff that we can do with your student for that first week or two. But the sooner the better with getting an instrument.
Okay. Yeah, the sooner you can get one, the better. But if you don't have one on the first day, please don't panic. Please don't worry. Please don't stress. A lot of what we do in our first lessons is just kind of learning how to stand, learning how to move, learning how to hold things. You can even practice your bow hold with a pencil. And even if you have an instrument, that's probably the first way we'll practice our bow hold. So there's a whole ton you can do. If you don't have your instrument right away, a related question, if we indicated which instrument we want on the registration form, can we go ahead and get the instrument, or should we wait until we hear from you? I would say that keeping in mind the things that we just talked about, avoiding too good to be true deals online, or where you can't go somewhere and see and hold the instrument. I would say to go ahead and get it. Another related question to that is there, and Mrs. Yang, I'm just reading through questions, so feel free to chime in or interrupt me at any point. Is there an opportunity to try the instruments? So in normal years, every single fifth grader and new sixth graders get to come in and try the violin, viola, the cello, the bass. We set aside some days for that, to just do that. And this year is a bit different because we can't be as hands-on. So that's why we're trying to share with you the videos and everything. But if you do, let's say you're thinking, I'm not sure if I want to play the violin or the cello. And you start playing the cello, and after you play the cello for 3 weeks, you're like, I wish I'd played the violin. I'm dreaming about the violin when I go to bed at night, reading my Harry Potter stories, and it's on my mind when I wake up. Talk to your teacher. I mean, if that happens, we'll let you switch, you know.
I do know that rec violin has been letting people try a little bit. So if you really, really, really want to try something before that, and you're comfortable with it, you could try going into rec violin. Definitely call first just in case. He wants to make sure that there aren't too many people in there at one time, but that would be one place you could try. And then also with first and second instrument choices, more that is for those who might be using a school instrument. Those ones, we don't quite know how it's all going to play out yet with getting instruments out to students who need them. But if you are going to be renting or buying your own, just like Mr. Awad said, you can definitely go out and look at one of the local shops to do that.
Okay, so some more questions about instruments and instrument choice. So let's see. All right, so I got a question, is it free? Now I'm not sure exactly what that refers to. If it refers to taking orchestra lessons in school, then yes, those are free. It's Mrs. Yang's job and my job to make sure that you all get lessons and get taught to play wonderful music in orchestra. If you're talking about instrument rentals, through the shops, renting an instrument does cost money. They do usually have either pretty reasonable rates or different levels you can rent at. So it shouldn't be too much of a financial burden. If it is, well, let me put it this way. Neither Mrs. Yang nor I want cost or the ability to pay for something to be a barrier for anybody, for anyone participating in orchestra. Hey Zion, you got some food for me? That looks good. Now, where'd I put my snacks? So for parents, if you've filled out a waiver, and these are filled out related to financial need and don't only deal with music programs like band and orchestra, but with some other programs that the schools have, and you can contact the office at your school if you have questions about this. So for families with a demonstrated financial need and a waiver on file, we do everything we can to provide a school instrument. We might not be always able to provide your first choice of instrument, like we only have a few bass players in the orchestra, and we, relatively speaking, only have a few basses. So if we have 14 kids who want to play the bass at one school, probably some of them will have to take their second choice of instrument, right? If you don't have a waiver, but for whatever reason getting an instrument is still difficult for you, folks with a waiver will get priority, but we will do what we can to help. Like we said, we want everyone to be able to participate. We don't want the ability to get an instrument to be an obstacle for anyone. So talk to Mrs. Yang or talk to me, and we'll see what we can do to help. We talk to the other teachers in the district, so if someone needs a little viola and I need a little cello, sometimes we trade. Mrs. Yang, did you want to add anything to that? I blabbed on for quite a bit. I'm bad that way.
No, it's great. I even have little tiny instruments here right now.
Ah, Mrs. Yang has a stash. So that actually relates to another couple of questions that we got in the chat. So one says, if we have a first choice instrument and a second choice instrument, is the final choice up to the families or to us, Mrs. Yang and Mr. Awad, so that we don't get a lopsided instrumentation in the orchestra, like 50 people playing the violin, one person playing the viola, and 2 bass players, half a cello player. So we have more violins in the orchestra than any other instrument usually, and that's kind of the instrumentation. And then maybe about half as many violas, almost as many cello players as viola players, and then several bass players. So if we were going to pick a quote unquote ideal orchestra instrumentation, it would look like that. But if your heart is set on playing the violin and you end up being 1 violin player out of 74, that's okay. You follow your heart and you play the violin. Same thing for cello, bass, viola. 2 other things to keep in mind related to that. And parents, this is kind of for you. Kids, for you too. Some people are really attached to playing one instrument. Like, I hear the violin, that's what I want to play. I want to be a violinist. And some are kind of like, well, I like the violin, I like the viola. You need a cello? Cello is cool. I just want to be in a group and play music. So if you're someone who feels really strongly attached to one instrument, follow your heart and play that instrument. If not, sometimes there are people who switch instruments partway through. Probably the most common switch to make, I would say, is violin to viola. A lot of people who end up playing the viola start on the violin, and they're held the same way, they're played the same way. The violin just has a brighter, more Jolly Rancher type sound, and the viola has kind of a darker, more chocolatey sound. Sometimes violin players get insulted when I say it sounds like a Jolly Rancher, but I like Jolly Ranchers a whole lot, so I don't think that's a bad thing.
If you're interested in seeing 2 sizes, this is a little teeny tiny quarter-size instrument, and this is my full-size violin. And this one would also be a very small viola size as well. So compared to my larger viola, they come in very different sizes. So no matter what, we'll make sure to help you find a good size for you.
Okay. We have a question about, do we have dates for distributing the rentals at West? According to West Music, they're all going to be delivered to the schools. Mrs. Yang might know more about this than I do. I know, I've heard that that's happening. I haven't heard that directly from West Music. I would imagine that that is maybe going to be handled a little bit differently at each school.
I can say what West Music has told me.
Okay.
And that's that they are planning, if you would like to pick it up from West Music, the store, you can do that. Absolutely can do that. Both Schultz Strings and West Music are planning on delivering to your school building. I believe that they're going to start delivering things on Monday, but our hope is that we can have everything delivered all on the same day or have a pickup day all be the same. We're still trying to figure out what day that will be, but we're hoping that we can have all of West Music, all of Schultz Strings, and then all school instruments to be picked up all on the same day, and that will be through your building secretary. So we'll keep you posted on how that will be. The other option is if you are part of the standard enrollment, so you're coming in for hybrid starting Monday, we will make sure that you have your instruments at your first lesson. So from whatever store it might be, as long as they're delivered to the school, you would definitely have it for your first lesson.
Okay. We have another question, Mrs. Yang, that I think touches on something we talked about earlier, so I think I'm going to let you take it. We submitted the registration form, but have not gotten a confirmation. Will you be sending a confirmation?
Yes, is the answer to that. We did not put the automatic response to the form because there are some students whose families don't have email addresses, and we wanted to make sure that it was equitable for all and that everybody could register even if they don't have an email address. So I am about 95% sure that your registration has come in. You are welcome to confirm with us, but hopefully we'll be sending an email either for Friday or Monday confirming that your registration has been submitted. So you will get a confirmation. We're just waiting until we can send it out to everybody.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm not going to name names, but we got some fun messages asking about how to play the bass, and that a young person caught a fish with his dad, which I think is pretty cool. So
I could say really fast, Christian, I've double checked and I don't have your registration form, so you could double check that.
right. And when we do get to the point of starting to schedule lessons, we will communicate a lesson schedule to families. So if you have registered or think you've registered and for some reason you don't hear about us when we're starting to hear about it when we're starting to schedule lessons, then definitely drop Mrs. Yang or me a line, and we will make sure that we get that fixed. As Mrs. Yang mentioned, and as it said at the beginning of our slideshow, this is this is new to us as well as new to you. So this is a new way of doing things for us, and there are all kinds of excuse me, all kinds of new things here that we're doing and taking into account. Some of it is challenging, some of it is neat. I'm learning new things about recording videos and editing videos and sharing things on Seesaw. So all that stuff is new to me. So I think along with the challenges, there are going to be some neat things, some bright sides that come out of it. Like some of the activities that Mrs. Yang and the other elementary teachers are putting together on Seesaw and in other ways are really cool. And then you're not going to only be able to learn when you're in your lesson. We've got videos and things that you can practice with at home. So I think a lot of that stuff is going to be pretty neat. But as far as lessons and scheduling lessons go, we'll be talking to your teachers and principals about that and making sure that we find something that works for you. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet, at least for me. There might be a mix of in-person stuff and online stuff, and maybe some kids will be more in person, some will be more online. But however it is, we'll make sure that that you get access to lessons and some good contact with us, whether it's in person or over a screen like this.
We really appreciate everybody coming out and hearing us and listening to us talk and get all this information about being an orchestra. And you can always email us too if you have any questions. It's our last name dot first name at iowacitysschools.org. And like I said, anytime, just send us a question. And if we don't know the answer, we'll try to find out the answer for you.
Okay. We do have another question.
Great.
Are you going to try to have most lessons take place in person? So speaking for me, again, yeah, and Ms. Yang, I'll let you chime in. I think some of that is going to depend on what's happening with the district, right? Whether we're in hybrid mode like we will be starting next week, or whether we're all online or whether we're fully in person, that'll have some effect on how lessons take place. For me, since I teach at the junior high and at the elementary schools, there's some delicate scheduling that we'll have to balance, but I'll be working that out with your teachers too. So it also depends on your classroom teachers. If I really want to work with Aubrey at 10:30, and Aubrey's teacher says, you can't have Aubrey at 10:30. Aubrey is too cool. Aubrey needs to be in class with us. Then I'll have to find another time to work with Aubrey, whether that's in person or online. So that's a long way of saying I'm not sure, but I am going to personally try to have at least some in-person contact with kids, because I think that's pretty helpful, at least when we're getting started and establishing position and learning to tune our instruments and stuff like that.
And to add to that, if you are part of the online academy, we cannot have you come in for in-person lessons right now. But once we get started with after-school activities, if we're able to, provided we're able to, in the spring, that would be, not in the fall, but it would work like a sport. So if you are part of online or standard enrollment, you would be able to participate in the after-school events.
Okay. Another question, where do you get your instrument? If you're using a school instrument, we will make sure that we get it to you, either giving it to you in your lesson or through the office or your classroom teacher. And if you rent or buy an instrument from the Rec Violin Shop or West Music or Schultz Strings, then you'll either pick it up there or they'll deliver it to school, and we'll make sure you get it that way. Okay, unless I've missed something, I think that's all the questions I've got.
Wonderful.
Okay. Are there any more questions? No? Okay, Mrs. Yang, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I don't think so. Just like I said, let us know if you have any questions. Get those registrations in so that we have them by Friday so we can get our lesson schedules and make sure we have instruments for everyone. But thank you guys so much for coming. We really appreciate it. It's nice to see some faces too.
Yeah, definitely. Mrs. Yang, we've talked so much. How about on the way out, as people go to get their dinners or whatever they're going to do, we share some Dragon Hunter with them?
Sounds great. I'm going to stop share for a moment and reshare with some Dragon Hunter.
Okay, guys, it was good to see everybody. If you have any questions, let us know. We hope to see a whole bunch of you in orchestra. Have a wonderful night.